Welcome to the Actual Fluency podcast. Each week you'll find inspirational, motivational interviews with some of the world's best language learners, industry experts, all trying to help you to learn foreign languages better, faster, and more efficiently. And here we go. If you're looking for a language teacher to enhance your language learning, then I highly recommend Italki. Italki is the world's biggest tutoring platform, and you can find thousands of teachers and tutors at very reasonable prices. Get a free lesson after completing your first lesson by going to languageteacher.co.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and taking some time with me this lovely Sunday. I was dreaming right there. Wednesday, lovely Wednesday. Do you want to start by just giving us a brief background, who you are, where you're from, and how you got into the language learning world?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you for having me. My name is Iker. I'm the marketing director at Italki. And Italki, in case you don't know, is a community marketplace that connects language learners with language teachers for online lessons. So I'm from Spain, and I've always been interested in advertising, computers, traveling, and learning more about other cultures. So somehow I end up in international online marketing. That's kind of like my passion. And they took me to travel first from Spain to UK, and then from UK to China. And in China, I had the opportunity to know about Italki, and I was kind of immediately hooked with the idea. The main idea behind Italki is that they want to connect, or we want to help people learn a language by connecting with other people around the world. So for me, that point of connecting with other people, of increasing the communication, it's very meaningful, and it's what will make me start working on Italki. I would say that's the main idea.
Interesting. So that was your background. Did you have any sort of language learning interest or experience before you joined up with Italki, or have you been bitten by the bug after?
I would say that I've been learning languages in one way or another for most of my life. So I'm from the north of Spain, from the Basque Country, and when I was a kid, I moved outside of the Basque Country for a while. So my mom was teaching me Basque at home. That's when I was like maybe 5-6 years old. And then a little bit later, I started learning English at school. That for me was a big change, because when I was learning Basque, I didn't know the language, but I had some familiarity with the culture. My grandparents spoke Basque. I knew a few words. I was familiar with the structure of the language. But when I moved to learning English, it was like a completely different experience, where I was not able to understand what was going on. And that was kind of like a little bit of a shock at the beginning for me when I was learning a language. It was like maybe 8-9 years old. Then the thing improved much more when I started to get the grasp, the basics, the foundation of the English language. And then when I went to high school, I started learning French while I was continuing learning English. I think at the time also I had the opportunity to go to France to do some exchange with some of the students in there. And that showed me one of the benefits of language learning. I have been learning Basque, English, and French for several years, but I haven't really had the opportunity to use it, to communicate with other people. So when I went to France and was able to use it in another country and to see the benefit of that experience, really helped me to see language learning in a different way. The same thing for English a couple of years after that, where I started to read books in English. That was like another kind of like milestone for me in language learning, where I started to see that all the effort that I have put in the previous years was having like a clear result. I could use it for something.
Very cool. Yeah, like putting it into practice, basically.
Yeah, that part of putting into practice, that Well, it should be the goal of learning a language, but in many cases it doesn't really happen. When I went to university, I started learning German. So I was learning German for 3 years. But in those 3 years, I didn't speak with a single native German speaker. I didn't use it outside of the class. So I was basically preparing for some exams just to pass, to get a good score, but there was nothing meaningful on that. And still today, I have been learning German I was learning German for 3 years, but I have nearly completely forgotten everything from there because of the lack of use. And then,
yeah, that's a good point.
right, when I moved to China, I started learning Chinese. So that's basically what I'm trying to do right now. So I think like, to sum up, yeah, I've been learning quite a few different languages. I also learned Latin in high school. And now with Italki, I've been trying to get the grasp of some languages before I travel to some countries. So for example, when I went to the polio conference in Iceland a couple of years ago, I took 5 lessons on Icelandic before going there, which is like, well, it doesn't really make you an expert in the language. You don't really learn that much, but it helps you. It makes a difference for me when I travel to a different country.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess the question people have, if you work for a language company, do you get free language lessons?
Yeah, definitely. We have. I think that something that the management of the company encourages is for us to learn more languages. And many of the people working at Italki are language teachers, polyglots. So yeah, for a lot of us, it's a great benefit to have the opportunity to have free language lessons with the teachers at Italki.
Fantastic. And how's the culture shock been for you as a Spaniard going all the way to China? I mean, a lot of people say that it's kind of up and down and everything is different. How have you felt coming over there?
Well, it was not my first step outside of Spain. So from Spain, I went to UK and then to China. So I had experience living abroad. So maybe because of that, the culture shock was not that big. Also, my wife is Chinese, so that really helped a lot to get the culture in here. And to be honest, I have also think that there are many similarities with the culture in the south of Europe or in Spain. The feeling the importance of the family is something that I really appreciate, and it really makes me feel more like at home. But of course, that depends on whether you have that family here or not. Yeah, if you come here alone, it's the first time that you go outside of the country. Yeah, China could be like a big shock.
Yeah. And where's Italki based?
It's based in Shanghai. We have
okay.
Shanghai. Yeah.
So that's where you work from as well, or are you remote?
Yeah, we work here in Shanghai. Our marketing team is based in Shanghai. We have people from multiple nationalities, multiple languages. But yeah, most of the team, both marketing, tech, product, is located here in Shanghai.
Cool. And obviously, Italki has been around for quite a while. How long have you been with the company again?
I've been working with Italki for 4 years.
Okay.
1.5 years. Yeah, but Italki has been around for a much longer time. So around like 12 years since it was founded. So I've been here for the last part of the journey. It's been very interesting, but yeah, Italki has a much longer story.
Yeah. So did you find it challenging coming in an existing company with an existing kind of framework to try and grow it? I assume the marketing job of any company is to get more customers to build up. Did you find that challenging, or were they very open to new ideas and flexible?
Well, it's challenging in the sense that we have ambitious goals. We want to grow, and we want to help our students and our teachers to get the most out of our platform. So definitely we have to work hard in that sense. But in terms of the work inside the company, the people that we have, I think I was very lucky when I joined Italki. We have a lot of very open-minded, multicultural people that really love and are passionate about language learning. So that definitely helps to make any newcomer more included and get up to speed much faster.
So how do you actually improve your results with Italki? Because if you look at the basics of it, Italki lessons are essentially just a teacher and a student kind of placed together using Skype or whatever software they want to use. So how can you as a company add anything to that would make the student more successful?
Right. I think that there are multiple ways in what we can do it, but in the end, one of the key things for language learning at Italki is to find the right teacher. So
yeah,
I agree with that. That's something that I've seen when I talk to polyglots, language experts. There's no single method that adapts to everybody. So I talk to someone who can speak like 20 different languages, and they tell me that the best method for learning is A. And then I talk to another one who has been learning 30 languages, and they say, no, it's not A, it's B. So what I think that again is about finding the right method for you, right? Finding the right person, the right teacher to help you learn. And in that sense, what we try to do is help our students in the journey. So how can we help our teachers to create the best profile, to give the right information, so the students that are browsing our listings of 10,000 teachers can find the one that is right for them. And the same thing for the students. How can we educate them? How can we onboard them? How can we teach them what is the best way to get the most out of Italki? So that part of how do we work to improve the matching between student and teacher is key for us. And of course, all the support after that happens. So when you come to student, so we come to Italki, you can book the lesson, you can pay for the lesson, you can have the lesson with our platform or by Skype. So how can we improve all that process to eliminate all the friction, make it as streamlined as possible, so the student and teacher can focus on the communication and the lesson, and you don't have to worry about any other aspect.
Right. So how have you been working on that? What kind of elements or initiatives have you been implementing to try and make that more seamless?
Well, we're actually working on a new version of the site that people can try. We have a beta that is open to everybody, and in there we have improved our user experience. We have improved the design. Where we have tried to work with our students, with our users, to understand what are the pain points, what are the problems that they were facing, and and take that feedback and put it into improvements that we are releasing on the site.
Right. It must still be challenging because I know that as a language learner, consistency is very difficult no matter what platform or app or method you use. So I guess you have the same kind of problems as any other place where you need people to stay consistent to have the results.
Sorry, can you repeat that again?
Yeah, I was just saying consistency is the biggest problem, isn't it? So that any platform that mitigates that is going to be a success. So I've seen some of you do some challenges and stuff that keep people motivated or interested to learn regularly, or at least more than they would normally, to try and stay focused, which is the biggest challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. One of the key things for language learning is the motivation to continue learning, don't give up, don't stop. And I think that for that, one of the key things is actually the teacher that you choose, that you feel comfortable with the method, that you feel comfortable with the person that you are talking to. So that's why when someone joins Italki, we try to incentivize them to try different teachers. We have a trial lessons, discounted trial lessons, that allowed our new users to have a lesson with a few different teachers before they decide which one is the best for them. And we have seen that really makes a big difference. In some cases, even some of our users decide to work with different teachers for different things. So maybe work with one teacher for the grammar, the writing, kind of like the basic learning, and then they work with one or two other teachers for things like speaking, pronunciation, for other type of learning. I think that one of the key things of Italki is the flexibility that allows you in your learning. So we have a lot of people that come to here because they are self-directed learners and they want to take control of their learning journey. So that helps them to obtain that goal of staying motivated or being consistent because they really enjoy what they are doing or the way that they are learning, and they are not forced to follow some specific method or to go through subjects that don't really add any value for that. I remember when I came to China, I first tried to learn Chinese by going to a university course, and I think it was like the third day, fourth day, we were learning how to go to the post office. And the teacher was explaining, hey, you can buy a stamp in this way, and this is the word for sending something on the post office, and here's all the vocabulary. And I remember I was asking the teacher, but when is it really useful? I mean, I haven't sent a letter in years. Yeah. So then we were learning about how can we send an email or how can we do other things. Yeah. And I remember I said like, no, this is going to be very useful. Yeah, you will see. And that was a couple of years ago, and I haven't used that vocabulary since. So I think that's one of the flexibilities of being able to work with a one-on-one teacher. That you can, what are the things that you need to learn, and you can focus on that.
I think it's also one of the best kept secrets, I think, of the Polyglot, or let's call them like the learning community, because I think a lot of people who might want to learn languages think that one-on-one teachers are very expensive, or that you have to go and find someone in your hometown or something, that there's no online teaching, or if there is, it's very expensive. But when I tell them, if you're learning a popular language like Spanish, you can find teachers for €5 an hour. They're like, what? And they're like, oh, it must be a scam, or there must be 40 students in the class. I'm like, no, it's all yours. It's 100% focused on you. And I really think that for me, that was a big change when I was learning, in just having that constant feedback, having that one-on-one accountability with the teacher, because the teacher would adjust the lessons, the level, the speed, 100% to me. And so I felt so comfortable after a few lessons that I was wondering, why didn't I do this like 3 months ago? So I really think it's my top recommendation is to get tutoring regularly. And if you just get like 1 hour a week, honestly, that is a huge difference in your language level after a year or even 6 months. And it's going to cost you, let's call it 40 euros a month. It's really, really not that bad. It can be done cheaper as well.
Right. Yeah, I think it's surprisingly true. There are a lot of people that still don't know about the availability of those one-on-one lessons online, and they're still thinking about, hey, I need to find someone in my city, or I need to ask my friends to see if they know someone who can teach me well. Like for example, in Italki, we have more than 10,000 teachers that you can access online anytime. Yeah. So that's definitely a great advantage, and in terms of the price, also like having teachers from around the world give us like a big flexibility in terms of the range of prices. So it really helps people to find something that is good for the price range, good for the learning schedule, and someone that can adapt the learning methods and adapt to their goals and to the requirements. Yeah, I think in some cases we are even surprised when we see how people are using Italki, or which cases they use it for. Yeah. So I remember once I was talking to a company, to the HR manager from a company, and she told me that she was using Italki to practice layoffs. So she had to fire some people. Using Italki to practice that. So, well, I mean, I don't know if it's something that we want to use as an example, but it's true. I think for people who are working on business, one of the important things is not just about language learning, but being able to practice different situations before those situations happen.
Yeah.
Because otherwise,
I think
maybe
it's very important.
So
you can tell people, you can tell the teachers exactly what you want to learn. And I'd say really tell the teacher when you start what your goals are, what you want to be doing with the language, and what you like. Because then the teacher can really build the lessons for you. If you don't, then you're going to get the kind of cliche standard lessons, which might be fine, but it's just going to be much better if you open up about that. Some people think that it's like a fixed curriculum. I guess they're used to it from school, that you don't have much influence on the curriculum. But on Italki and certainly other places as well, you can just tell the teacher what you want, exactly what you want. Like if you want to learn how to fire someone in Spanish, here you go. I mean, we can do that. And it just gives some great opportunities for flexibility, like you said, that you can build your own lessons, and for that price, you just can't be beaten.
We'll just take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, Italki, but we'll be right back. On this podcast, I've interviewed hundreds of language learners, some of the world's greatest polyglots and industry experts. And one thing they all agree on is the value of one-to-one tutoring lessons. And for this, I highly recommend Italki. They have thousands of teachers in all price ranges, and they even have certified teachers who have taken diplomas or have degrees in the language you're learning. So whether you're just brushing up on your Italian ahead of a trip to Rome, or you want to master Russian to take the exam, or whatever your goals are in languages, Italki has a tutor suitable for you. And compared to private tutoring offline, it's really affordable. You can find informal tutors down to $5 an hour, and you can have trial lessons for even less. So if you want to master a language from the comfort of your own home, and you even get a $10 credit when you complete your first lesson, go to languageteacher.co and check out Italki. It might be the best thing you do for your language learning this year.
Yeah, I think it has to do also with the mentality that we have we have experience at the school for so many years. You wouldn't think about telling your teacher at school, like, hey, I don't want to have homework, or please give me more homework, or I don't want you to correct me every time I talk, or please correct me more. And but that's something that you can do at Italki, and sometimes people don't realize that. So that's actually feedback that we have had from some users, that they have a lesson with the teacher and say, like, well, I'm not happy with the teacher because they didn't give me homework. You can tell them to you can explain exactly how do you want to learn, what are your preferences, whether you want to spend most of the lesson talking to them and being the one kind of like leading the conversation and leading the learning, or if you want something more structured and you want to focus on writing and grammar. So that's definitely up to you. But I think that in some sense it's also about changing that mindset that we have had for so many years, learning at school or even at university, and say like, well, there's a different way to learn. We don't have to feel restricted by those boundaries that we had before.
Yeah, it's a totally new and flexible way, and I think if you did nothing else than 2 lessons a week on Italki, you could be speaking very well in 3 months, and you would have complete functional language in a year, I think. Just because it's direct, it's one-on-one, it's feedback, you're fixing all the problems as you go along. It's not like you have a textbook that doesn't care about you at all. It just teaches you some standard stuff. In lessons, you're learning exactly what you need to learn, and you're fixing exactly the problems you have, both pronunciation and grammar and vocabulary. And it just makes a much more functional language.
Right. Yeah, I think it's. I mean, as you have mentioned also about like setting up those goals and how do you get to there. And yeah, 1 year you can make a lot of progress. A few weeks ago, we were talking to one of our users. I think we can see we have a video, a user story of his progress on Italki, and his method of his way of setting up goals is he plans his trip for the following year. So maybe he'll say, okay, next year I'm going to go to Norway, or next year I'm going to go to Italy. And during that year, before that trip, he tries to learn as much as he can on Italki. That way, when he arrives at that country, he will be able to experience the trip in a completely different way. He will be able to have a conversation with the people there, and that was working really well for him. He had learned like 7 different languages on Italki, because not everyone has the same goals or the same motivation to learn multiple.
Of course.
But
it's good to have an end goal in sight, like a trip or speaking to a family member or a conference or something.
Right. Yeah, it's about like you can be creative with your goals, and I think also the important thing is that you understand that the language learning is a journey, and the goal is not learning by itself, but the ability to communicate, to understand the culture. So if you think that you're going to be able to have conversations with people in a different country, you're going to be able to. Well, we have a big community on Italki where people can ask for questions, can have discussions, can meet people from other different countries. So that gives like an additional goal for our users, an additional motivation. Yeah, because you see that you can see what progress you are making in a real situation, and not just again like focus on, okay, I've completed this lesson, I've completed the next lesson and the next lesson.
Yeah, that's super important as well. Have those goals, and if you're feeling like you're part of something bigger, then the language goals will definitely be easier to achieve. And it's also like a back and forth kind of thing, because you can help people with your native language, and then you can get help from their native language. So it's kind of like you do that, I do this kind of thing, and it doesn't cost anything to ask a question. And if people see that you answer a lot of questions, then they're happy to help you also.
Right, you can feel that connection, that belonging to the community, and yeah, not only are you learning, as you said, but you can also be very useful to other people. And yeah, it's funny. We sometimes see some type of users that really like that part of helping other users that have responded to thousands of questions, that have given thousands of corrections in a year, and they don't ask for anything in return. So they just offer the knowledge of the language to help people from different cultures, and they feel the reward is to that feeling of being able to help all those learners to know more about the country, about the language, about the culture. So I think that's something very, very positive that we can see in the community.
Yeah, that definitely. Have you seen a big explosion in people interested in learning English in the last year or two? Is that a big thing?
English specifically? No, I mean, English is the number one language and interest for most of the people in the world. So there's like a steady interest in learning English. So I don't think that we have really seen a big variation whether people want to learn more or less English.
Oh, really? Okay, so it's always been big on Italki.
Yeah, I would say on Italki and in nearly every language learning company. Of course, well, the difference in Italki is that we have more than 130 different languages. Yeah, we don't focus just
of course
in English. So yeah, but even if there are a lot of people learning different languages, dialects, still English is the main one.
Yeah, But I was just asking because I was curious because I know that there's been, but again, it could just be a big interest throughout. But I just remember reading something about especially Russia and Brazil and some of the Middle East, that the demand for English is just going through the roof. I was just wondering if you'd seen anything from the inside, but it sounds like you've had a large demand for a while.
Yeah, I think we definitely see some interest from the countries that you have mentioned. But yeah, we have seen that interest for a while. I think it is maybe not necessarily about the interest in those countries, but also about how they are opening to different ways of learning. So you think about Russia, for example, the offline market of language learning in Russia is still very big compared to the online part. So many of those countries are maybe transitioning from the offline learning style to the online one. So that's why for a lot of companies, they have seen that increase in the last few years. But yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily about the interest for English learning or that transition in the way that people are learning.
Right, they're finding out about online learning.
Yeah,
and maybe the internet is getting more reliable also in some of the areas.
Right.
I don't know how good internet is in Siberia and stuff. It's probably good, but I don't know.
Right.
So the last thing I want to talk about with Italki is one of my favorites, and that's the way that anyone can just become a tutor and start to make some money with their native language. And I think this is a fantastic opportunity. Obviously, you have to, submit a video and make a nice profile and have a profile picture and everything. There's a few requirements, but I think for someone who's, let's say, they have a bit of spare time and they speak a language that somebody else wants to learn, which is, you said 130 languages on Italki, so chances are somebody wants to learn your language, and you set up this profile and you just kind of sign up as a conversational tutor. So you don't promise any, in-depth grammar. You make it clear you don't have a degree in teaching or in the language, but you can definitely help people with the most natural way, which is speaking. And I think it's a wonderful opportunity for people who like languages, but may not have, maybe they don't want to take a certificate, like a week-long certificate, or move abroad or something. Maybe they just want to do it from their bedroom a couple of days a week, in the evening or when they're done with their studies or whatever. I remember doing it for Danish when I was at uni. I was like, okay, I'll give this a try. And I was teaching Danish a couple of times a week, just an hour here and there. And it was really just a really easy experience. And it was really, it didn't take long to set up. And if your language is in demand, you get students, So I just wanted to highlight that because I think a lot of people are sitting out there, they might have a language interest and they want to do something more with it. And I think that becoming a tutor can basically open up many doors for you, and you can earn a bit of money while doing it. And you might find that you really like this stuff, so you go into a more professional way, or you build your own online course or blog, or you can go a long way with it. But I just think it's really great that Italki facilitates this kind of stuff for pretty much everyone, right?
Yeah, I think that we really want to be able to facilitate those connections for people who want to learn a language and people who are open to teach that language. So for that, we have two different type of teachers on Italki. So one is the professional teachers, and then these people, they do have a certificate on teaching languages that we verify and that we approve. And then there's the community tutors that you have mentioned that don't necessarily have a degree on teaching. Maybe some of them have experience, some of them have less experience. But important things that they are native speakers that can help you with conversation, can help you with informal tutoring, can help you to know a little bit more of the culture, and in many cases also they might be experts in other fields that you are interested in. So I mentioned things like human resources before, but we also have people who want to learn medical English, or they want to learn about law in a different language, or they are interested in a specific part of the culture of a country, and they want to learn about cooking, or they want to learn about literature, or they want to learn about video games. And in the community tutors, they can find these people with that profile. So it gives us like a much wider, or gives the learner, the student, a much wider range of choices. I remember, for example, we have people who are trying to learn aviation English, and we have some people on Italki that have been air traffic controllers or air flight instructors, and they definitely don't have a teaching degree. However, the knowledge that they can provide for the people who are looking for that specific field is probably much more valuable than what some of the more professional teachers can provide. Yeah, and in some cases, that we also have students that they don't really need the structured lessons. They just want to practice. They just want to see what it is to talk to real people from other countries, to have that experience that usually they don't have. So for that, like the community tutor, it's really beneficial for a lot of students. And if there's people like listening now that are thinking like, well, this seems interesting, I think I could try it. Just go to Italki and apply. You have to create your profile video. You have to fill your information, but it's relatively straightforward. And just give it a try.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, you could definitely build a career out of it. I've seen people go from being a tutor to running their own online business in the language. So you can go far with it. But the important thing is just getting started. And I think for the person interested in learning languages, it's extremely important to try different teachers. And I would say that professional doesn't necessarily mean good. Like that doesn't relate, in my opinion. Like, you have a degree, which makes the knowledge might be better, like the theoretical knowledge, but it doesn't mean that you're going to relate to that person or enjoy that teacher. So don't look only at the professional teachers. I would say there are some fantastic community tutors out there, and try a few. And if there's some you don't like, well, just try another one. There's, like you said earlier, there's a teacher for everyone, for sure.
Yeah, and I don't think it's necessarily good or bad, but more about is the right one for you. It kind of like
the style, maybe,
you need, because in some cases we can even have like an excellent teacher that many of the people are recommending, but you find a different one that for whatever reason is much more relevant to you, and then just go for it. Don't feel like obliged to have to choose the teacher with a higher number of lessons, or the teacher that other people say is the right one. Because in the end, if you want to have that motivation, that consistency, that continuity, you have to find something that you are comfortable with, even if it's not the way that other people learn.
Yeah, exactly. It's all subjective. It's all to each learner what they respond to the best. And sometimes it's a different teacher, sometimes it's a different method, different materials. But I think more often than not, the people that I talk to, the goals that they have are mainly communication. Right. Like just go to the country and speak and be part of it in a different way. So for that, I would probably more often than not recommend tutors, because they're more into conversational practice. Not that a professional tutor cannot do that, but it just seems like a bit of an overkill. But if you want to go into a more formal study, let's say you want to pass a degree, or you want to pass one of the official tests, or read, write, that kind of stuff, then I would definitely probably look to the professional, just as a rule of thumb. Obviously this can be both can be flexible in both ways.
Yeah, definitely. I think you have the option to go for a more structured learning or for something more informal. And in the end, you also have the option to try different ones. And I guess like even sometimes the reason for trying could be to experiment different accents or different dialects in the language that you are learning. Because otherwise, even if the teachers always try to push you from your comfort zone and try to give some pressure to accelerate the learning, it gets to a point where maybe you are feeling like too comfortable, or you don't have that kind of like shock of, hey, this is a person that I don't know. I'm talking to them for the first time. I need to make an effort to understand them, to make them understand me, and that's something that you can experience with the community tutors, like trying different people, yeah, like replicate that to a sense, that immersion, that experience that you don't feel when you go to another country. I think we have so many students that we have talked to that we ask them like, why do they come to Italki? When did they feel that they needed to have like one-on-one lessons or to learn with a teacher? And for many of them, they have been learning in different ways, or maybe using other apps for months, or in some cases for even 1 or 2 years. And sometimes maybe they went to another country, they had the experience of that. I've been learning Spanish for 1 year. I want to go to Mexico, or I want to go to Argentina, and I'm going to see, how all this learning that I have works and how they put it into practice. And they go to that country and say, like, well, they were not able to say anything apart from, yeah. And then they realize, like, well, maybe I need to change the way I learn. And it's not necessarily because the learning methods that they had were completely ineffective. I'm sure that they learned the vocabulary, they learned grammar, whatever, but they were not in that situation where, like, okay, now I need to speak, now I need to have like a real conversation. Yeah? And that's something that you can do with the teacher, the tutor, professional teacher. That experience is something that I think that you have to go through no matter what when you are learning a language at some point. And you can debate whether you want to have it earlier or you have to have it later. Of course, from our side, we think like it's better to have it earlier. But what you cannot deny is that you have to go through that process if you want to become fluent in the language.
Yeah, of course. It takes work, and there's going to be frustration, and you're going to spend some time finding your teacher and your personal method that works for you. But if you think about it, that's not really that different, because when you're in school, you just get someone, you don't have a choice. So yeah, it's easier, but it's also much worse because you don't get to do it in your way and with the person that you want to do it with. So it's much better this way, and I'm really happy that it's getting it's getting more and more popular, but more and more people know about it as well, and obviously that's a big part of what you do as a marketing director, is to try and increase the outreach. And one thing I want to thank you for as well is for sponsoring this podcast. Of course, it's a huge thing for me and for the listeners. So we really appreciate that. And you also have a history of sponsoring the Polyglot events, which I think is also fantastic, to get out and talk to some of the participants, get feedback, and give them a chance maybe to meet some of your guys and give suggestions the other way. So do you want to share any sort of upcoming, are there any events or maybe any features or anything we can look forward to? When can we meet the Italki team around the world?
Yeah, we are really working on a lot of new ideas on improving our website, or improving our apps, improving our community. And I think that for the Italki users, they will see all those things rolling out in the during 2019. If you haven't tried Italki, it's a good time to go and have a look at our website and our apps, because we have a lot of exciting things coming up. I think one of the core values from Italki, the core ideas from Italki, is the importance of human interaction. So that's something that we are not going to change, but that we are going to try to improve it into our app, into our site, and give our community, give our users more more flexibility, more features, more ways to share their knowledge with other people in the community, and to be able to learn more from some of our users, and of course from our teachers. So that will be happening in the next month. So yeah, really stay tuned and keep an eye on Italki.
Cool. And any travel plans? Are you going to be in Bratislava or Fukuoka or Montreal? Are we going to see Italki represented?
We saw that there's a certain polyglot cruise that is going to happen Next year, yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, let's talk about that for
Wow,
sure.
that's great. When looking at it, wow, the polyglot events are getting better and better. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's in the Mediterranean, so you could be our guide for many of those places.
But yeah, I mean, we really love like going to polyglot events. I think that well, a big part of our audience, of our users are people who love languages, polyglots, language enthusiasts. So that's why we have that close connection. That's why we want to help some of those language polyglots, sponsor some podcasts, videos, events, because I think that there's a very great correlation between the values from the polyglot community and what we want to do at Italki. So definitely we are going to be present and try to be more and more present on some of those events, being like the Polyglot conference or Landfest, Polyglot gathering. We have been collaborating with a lot of those events, and we will continue to do that in the future. And yeah, we're definitely interested in knowing more about the Polyglot cruise.
Fantastic. Well, details to be announced later, but thank you so much, Iko, coming on and sharing some extra secret tips from Italki and how to obviously use the platform better, which is what we're all about. And maybe if some people still haven't tried it, I don't understand why they haven't, but for some reason they haven't tried. Hopefully they've been inspired by you today to go give it a try. And if you go do a lesson on Italki, the first lesson you get a $10 credit afterwards. So it's essentially for free if you do a lesson that's cheaper than 10. So that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, definitely. Just to say to the listeners, if you have made it this far, it means that you're probably interested in Italki. So the best advice that I can give you is don't wait until tomorrow to sign up.
Do you want to give away 5 free lessons to the people who made it this far?
5 free lessons? Well, I think that there's no need for free lessons. We have so many. So many amazing tutors that you can try. I think that what we try to do is offer trial lessons. So that's something that you can see if you go to Italki, that the teachers have maybe a certain price for the full-time lesson, but then they also offer like a 30-minute trial that you can have from starting to on $1 for some teachers.
Sure.
So you can have an idea of what we have mentioned before. What is the teaching method? How comfortable do you feel talking to them? And you can try, a few people for a couple of dollars. And then when you have the one that you really click with, you really feel like, okay, that's the person that's going to help me in my journey learning that language. Then you can book more lessons with them. But I definitely recommend going there, just spending $5 to try a couple of teachers, and then you feel like, okay, this is something that's going to help me. This is something that I feel like doing continuously. Then continue talking, but just give it a try.
Yeah, that's really good advice, and I've used those trial lessons in the beginning myself, and yeah, they cost almost nothing. And obviously, you don't get the full like hour or hour and a half lesson, but that's not the point. You just there to just test out the teacher and also give the teacher a chance to show off a bit. Because the teacher knows that you're there to test them, kind of. So they're putting on their best show as well. So it's a win-win for both, really.
Right. Yeah, I think, and you think of our teachers, they have a lot of experience teaching online. Many of them have hundreds of different students, thousands of lessons. So they are going to be able to help you during that trial lesson, during that first 30 minutes to understand what do you need in your language learning and how can they help. So it's definitely worth trying.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely cool. I still want to reward one person for taking action. What do you think? Can we do anything if somebody takes that trial lesson and they email me?
Yeah.
The first one to do it. Can we give them a little swag? Any Italki swag we can give them or something? Because this is the Italki episode. So if there ever was a chance for someone to take action and get a little reward, I think we should reward it if we can. Otherwise, we'll cut this from the episode and nobody will ever know.
Yeah, definitely. But I don't think like it's fair to just give one reward. So maybe we can do is like choose 3 people who have been listening to this and who try Italki for the first time. And we can give them like $10 in free credits for the next lessons.
Very nice. Let's do that. The first 3 to report back.
Well, I leave that up to you. So you are.
I'll take care of the admin. I'll send you their usernames when I get them. Right. So for anyone listening, honestly, this is an achievement to make it this far. Unless you're driving and you can't change the track, or you're out running or something, you can't change the change your way. But if you've been listening this far, I think this is a good reward. If you go and try Italki, have that first lesson, give you an extra $10 credit. The first 3 who email me, chris@actualfluency.com, and I'll set up the contact.
Awesome.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much once again, Iker, and we'll definitely be talking about next year's events, and I hope to see you around the world sometimes. I definitely like to go to some of those events myself, so maybe we'll meet up in the future sometime.
Definitely. Thank you for having me in the podcast. It's been a pleasure. And I hope that we can continue collaborating and maybe see you around in some of the Polyglots events, or maybe in the Polyglot cruise.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Actual Fluency Podcast. I really appreciate having you here today. Just before you leave, I just want to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, which is Italki. Italki is a tutoring platform where you can find affordable tutors for every language in the world, pretty much. So get started today and get a free $10 credit when you book your first lesson. If you go to actualfluency.com/italki, that's spelled ITALKI. So give it a go and feel how tutoring can really boost and enhance your language learning.